A session, like a cookie, provides a way for you to track data for a user over a series of pages. The difference between the two, and this is significant, is that a cookie stores the data on the client, in the browser, whereas the session data is stored on the server. Because of this difference, sessions have numerous benefits over cookies. Sessions are generally more secure because the data isn't transmitted back and forth between the client and the server repeatedly. Sessions allow you to store more information than you can in a cookie. Sessions can be made to work even if the user doesn't accept cookies in their browsers. And you can more easily store other types of data in sessions, such as arrays or booleans. When you start a session, PHP will generate a random session ID. Each user's session is going to have its own session ID, and that's going to correspond to the name of the text file on the server that stores the user's session data. Session data is stored on the server as a string of information that would be hard to decrypt. Let me show you what a session looks like. This is the page that we're going to be building. We're going to be building a login page that's going to allow us to log in and store that information as part of a session. Inside of the application section of the developer's tools, if we go back to our cookies, let me show you where a session is going to show up. So the page that we're going to be building is going to allow the user to enter their email address and their password. If I click login, it's going to give me an error message saying make sure you enter both the email address and a password. I have to click the back button to go back, and if I enter the appropriate email address and try to log in, I'm going to get an error message that says make sure you enter both an email address and a password. Go back and try again. And now if I enter the password and click login, it's going to log me in. And you can see that it's going to say, hello, user@domain.com, which was my username. You have been logged in since 4:41. Now, if we wait a couple minutes, so now my timestamp on my clock, which I know you can't see, says 4:42. If I go ahead and refresh the page, it still is going to let me know that I've been logged in since 4:41. If I actually close my browser and open a new browser window and put in the address, it's still going to indicate that I've been logged in since 4:41. This information is going to persist until I actually log out. And let me just show you the application section. You can see that under the cookie section, we now have something called PHP SESSID, and then the value is set at this long encrypted value. Every PHP script on a site can associate the same session data with a particular user. The session ID has to be tracked as well. So by default, this session ID is sent to the browser as a cookie, hence what we're receiving right here. Subsequent PHP pages will use this cookie to retrieve the session ID and access the session information. If I click log out, it's going to log me out. Now if I try to click the back button and go back to that page, you can see that it says welcome to the session page, but we're not getting the correct information. And that's because we've officially logged out, so we're not going to retrieve the correct information. If I want to log in again, I would have to go through the same process. So I'd need to enter the information, and if I don't, I'll get an error message. And if I just enter in one part of the information, it's going to give me an error message. And then if I enter the correct password and log in, it's going to now log me in and start my session at a new time. Sessions may have benefits over cookies, but there are still reasons that you want to use cookies. Cookies have advantages over sessions too. They're easier to create and retrieve, they require slightly less work from the server, and they normally persist over a longer period of time. As a rule of thumb, you should use cookies in situations where security is less of an issue and only a minimum of data is being stored. If security is a concern, there will be oodles of information to remember, and then you're best off using a session. Understand, though, that using sessions may require a little more effort in writing your scripts. Here's a diagram that breaks down how our login page is going to work. We're going to start off with a form for submitting the login information. That information is going to go through a validation routine that confirms the necessary information was submitted. If the information is incomplete, it goes back to the login form. If the information was complete, it's going to go to the database and make a query that compares the submitted information against the stored information. If there's no query match, we go back to the login form again. If there is a query match, and the cookies or sessions that store the data reflect a successful login match, then it's going to go ahead and send you off to the final page. In the next few videos, we'll be using PHP along with sessions to create that login page that I just showed you.